All right, welcome back to WMAC Now with your host Chuck Stevenson. I'm joined by Charlie Jewett of sogo-kaku.com to preview Deep Jewels 42. It's the 10th anniversary of the Deep Jewels promotion, which it started when the Deep promotion purchased Jewels 10 years ago. How you doing today, Charlie?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. So we got, let me bring it up here. So we've got an 11 pro fight card coming up. Looks pretty good to me, but a little bit underwhelming, I think, for your 10th anniversary. But I like the matchups overall. What do you think so far going into it?
Yeah, it's got some good matchups on it, but you actually helped contribute to an article, the kind of roundtable discussion about the event. And some comments were kind of saying that with this being the 10th anniversary card, it might have been nice to have like a legacy match where you brought back some of the old fighters. And Deep Jewels has done like those tag team grappling matches in the past. So maybe bring back a couple of the fighters from the first event or something like that. But that aside, I think this event does highlight a lot of their younger talent very well and kind of shows how well the promotion is going, because there was like a little period of time where the fighters were getting older and they weren't really getting a lot of younger fighters in Deep. And now, I mean, look at this card. All these fighters, not a single one of them looks like they're over the hill. They all seem to be young prospects on the rise. So I guess that's the strength of the card and strength of the promotion right now.
Yeah, I think overall the oldest fighter is still younger than 35.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nice for Deep Jewels, because for a while it was like, fighters that had been fighting since even the late 2000s.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a period of time before Ryzen when Deep Jewels was kind of recycling some fighters because there just wasn't the interest, so new women weren't entering the sport, but that's clearly changed.
Yeah, I'd say after Ryzen had that initial women's super atomweight Grand Prix, that's when new blood really started coming in, like out of nowhere, almost.
Well, I mean, you talk to some of the women. Like I remember, Abima does this TV show where they send Japanese fighters outside of Japan to train, and like Miki Matono, like didn't even know that being a professional fighter was like a career option for a woman in Japan. And I think one of the good things Ryzen did was like by being on Fuji TV, because Japan only has like 8 channels that are like non-cable. Everyone got to see it, and just the exposure that caused, because Japan has all these women doing wrestling, judo, karate, and so they're all like, "Oh, I can keep doing this after college."
Yeah, I know, like, because we've had disagreements about the round structure, and you've mentioned in the past, like, how most of these women, they only train part-time, like very few of them are full-time fighters.
Well, right. I mean, just like the US, major cities in the US, a lot of these girls live in the Tokyo area, not a cheap city to live.
Yeah.
And fighting doesn't pay the bills, so a lot of them have other jobs. And the traditional or the stereotypical training structure in Japan is a lot of people go to the gym at like 9, 10 o'clock at night and start training.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the fight. So first up, we have.
Oh, come on, you got to go to the amateur fight of Sarah versus Anouk.
I forgot to grab the picture for that one.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Because I know you've streamed several times with Anouk.
I have another video coming up with her this week, but she's actually getting ready to move to the US for a year, so it's going to be her last fight in Deep Jewels for at least that long. But I mean, we've also spoken to who we call Foodie Sarah, who you'll remember was in the famous Sarah versus Sarah match where neither fighter had a last name. But yeah, it's kind of an exciting fight between the two English-speaking fighters in the promotion.
Yeah, I actually almost reached out to Anouk for this preview, and then I remembered, oh crap, she's fighting.
Oh yeah.
So
she's a busy lady. She also recently, I think she got like her PhD or something. So
Wow.
Yeah, impressive.
Okay, so first up we have is it flyweight bout? Yuka Okutomi taking on Haruki Boss Suzuki. So we got Okutomi on the left there coming in at 1-0, Boss coming in at 0-1. So I'm
Right.
not too familiar with either of these two. I know I've seen Boss fight
You have to have a
before.
soft spot for Boss because she trains with Chibi-sai. And so she's from Niigata Prefecture, which is kind of a rural prefecture. And I used to live there. I lived there for 2 years. So I kind of have a soft spot for them. But yeah, she made her pro debut in her last fight and actually broke her arm in that fight. So this will be her first fight since breaking that arm.
Wow. And so I can tell from her top that Okutomi fights for or trains out of Reversal Gym, but that's about.
Yeah, I think she trains at Miwi, so that's probably with like that's with Shizuka Sugiyama, and I think Murata Kaneko also trains there, which is in Japan, and so does Mizuki Inoue. So it's a pretty solid gym.
Looks
And
like
I'm
it
just
could
looking
be.
at her record. I mean, she has a pretty good amateur record. She
Yeah,
went 4-0
Tapology
as an
has a
amateur.
4-0. Yeah.
So if I had to pick, I would. She clearly looks like a grappler, and Boss tends to be more of like a striker. But I would probably give the edge to Yuka in this fight just based off her amateur performance.
Yeah, I would say so too. Although, got to cheer for someone who dares to take the nickname Boss
Oh,
to start
she's
their career.
Boss is pretty badass, and she's not a quitter. I mean, I mean, she let her arm get broken in the last fight, so it's gonna be hard to take her out.
Hmm. All right. So then we move on to a ladies lightweight match. Pochan Z
Yeah,
taking on another, yet another opponent that they're really trying to give her a win here. Chico Hosoya
I don't
coming
know
in
about
at
that.
1-1.
I don't
Well,
see
she's
Pochan
moving
winning
up.
this fight.
She's moving up to what, 2 weight classes.
Yeah, that's true.
But Pochan Z's 0-4 and Hosoya is 1-1. And I have to agree with Anouk's assessment in that you can't help but cheer for Pochan Z because like you watch her fight and you can tell she's like genuinely putting forth an effort to
Right,
try to
right.
win. She's just not good.
Well, they don't ever list how old she is, but I get the impression. My guess would be she's like in her mid-30s, but
I think
I don't
I
think
saw
she.
once that she's pushing 40.
Yes, that seems likely. And I don't. It doesn't seem like she has an athletic background, and it's always hard because, especially in Japan, where there's such a strong judo and wrestling culture, and like karate.
Mhm.
So a lot of these girls that they're going against have been doing martial arts for almost 20 years by the time they get in there. So just catching up to that is probably an impossible task. But Pochan Z, I think she was like part of like a chubby idol group, and
Yeah, they
now she
always
works
listed
at
her as that, the chubby
yeah,
idol.
yeah, I think now she works at like a 24-hour bento shop.
Wow.
And so I mean she's got some fans, but I mean she's 0-4. I think she lost to Juicy twice, and Chico beat Juicy pretty easily.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna give this one to Chico, I think.
Yeah, I think she lost to Juicy once as an amateur,
Yes,
and
and
then
once
they
as a
both
pro.
yeah, and then they both faced each other in their pro debuts. Yeah, got to go with Chico in this one.
That's kind of what happens when you get to kind of some of those heavier divisions. You start seeing not a lot of different opponents to fight, so they start fighting each other a couple times.
Yeah. So we move on to the microweights, probably
Yeah.
the smallest of the microweights too. In Kyoka Minagawa, aka Chibasai, taking on Akari Kamasei. So Kyoka's improved her record to 2-3. Started out 0-3.
Mhm.
Has won her last two. Kamasei is coming off her first loss as a pro after winning her pro debut.
Yeah. I mean, this is great for Chibisai. As I said, I have a soft spot for the Niigata-based fighters, and it looks like she like runs a little like a food truck up there or something. So She's kind of, but you are correct in saying she's small. I think she's actually the smallest fighter in deep history, which is pretty impressive because they've had some pretty small ladies in there. But she also, I think her uncle owns the gym she trains at, or her uncle owned a gym that she started training at. But she also is kind of playing catch up. She didn't really have a martial arts background, where Akadi seems to have. It's like a grappling background, I would say. And Chibisai tends to be more of a brawler. That's probably an accurate guess.
Yeah,
But
I'd say so.
yeah, I think Akadi is probably the favorite going into this fight, just based off of her technical abilities. But then again, yeah, because I'd say they're actually fairly even, but I would give it to Akadi in this.
Just based on having a actual martial arts background.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for
But
those watching,
she lost to Mizuki Furuse, who's like a real hit or miss fighter.
yeah,
But she beat Momoka, who is kind of a very similar fighter to Chibisai. They're both kind of brawlers.
yeah, come forward, keep
Yeah.
throwing and just keep going.
Yes, I think I'd give it to Akadi in this one.
Yeah. So for those watching, according to Tapology, they're both listed at 4 feet 9 inches, 145 centimeters. So they're shorter than a lot of big dogs standing up.
Oh, I've met Chibisai several times, and she is probably one of the smallest people I've ever met.
Yeah, in
I
the
feel
US,
like her head is. I feel like her head is like barely above my waist.
Wow.
And I'm like 6 feet tall, so it's not
Yeah,
that.
in the US, if you went out with her, you'd probably get accused of
Oh yeah, she would look like a child.
inappropriateness. Yeah. So move on. I think this one's going to be interesting. We've got Eru Takabayashi taking on Saki Kitamura. Is that a 50 kilogram, 110-pound catch weight? Eru coming in at 3-3. Kitamura on the right, coming in off of a loss in her pro debut. This kind of feels like a setup fight for Eru Takabayashi.
Well, I think Saki comes from Breaking Down. And for those that aren't familiar, Breaking Down is like an extremely popular reality show in Japan. It's like run by Miku Asakura, who's like an insanely popular fighter / YouTuber in Japan. So it was really smart of Deep Jewels to bring her over because she gets that Breaking Down rub. But Breaking Down this format is like 1 minute fights. So it's very much like street fight brawling kind of thing. So not very technical. But I would agree with your assessment. I think I'm a big Edo Takabayashi fan. I think her record doesn't correctly kind of portray her skill set. She's a very exciting striker that has good power in her strikes. Her weakness has always been her grappling, which has been improving. But I mean, Saki's a brawler from Breaking Down. She's not going to come out here to try to out grapple her. So it's kind of a perfect matchup for Edo.
Yeah, what's she going to do once it gets past the 1 minute mark?
Yeah, throw the towel. Throw the towel in.
Yeah, for those that have never heard of Breaking Down, basically think of a fighting event designed for TikTok.
Yes, exactly. Think of the worst people on social media that'll do anything to be popular, and then a really popular social media guy being like, you can come on my really popular platform if you fight another influencer. And that's what Breaking Down is.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Eru on this one.
But
it's hard to pick against her.
I like Edu because of the way Japan is. You just get so many girls from judo and wrestling backgrounds that seeing like an explosive striker is almost kind of rare. And I mean, she throws so much heat, whether she's throwing her elbows or her knees or her punches. So I just want to see her keep getting better because the division needs a good striker like that.
Yeah. And, like you said, even going back, because talking about the DJ 10th anniversary, going back even years before Deep Jewels, it was just Japanese women's MMA was just overrun by judoka to the point that like any strikers that came up would usually just go 0-1 and just move on because they couldn't adapt fast enough.
Well, because it's just they like Japanese MMA and Japanese boxing in general. It's just they throw you to the wolves almost immediately, and it worked once. I mean, Ham Sohi somehow defied the odds and beat all the grapplers they threw her against, but it doesn't work very often.
Most of them, I'd say,
well,
except for
she
like
had a little rough stint. She had a rough stint in the beginning.
Yeah.
What they had her fight Yuka Tsuji, Megumi Fuji, Miku Matsumoto, and like all the best fighters in a row.
And all who had over 10 fights.
I think her pro debut was against Hisai Watanabe, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I reviewed that one once in a retro thing. It was like she was an unknown from Korea, basically just brought in to get that Japan beats Korea rub.
Yeah, I think what literally happened was that Saeki-san asked Stun Gun Kim if he could bring a girl over. Like, they didn't care who she was, they didn't know anything. Yeah. So she was just like an afterthought for Watanabe to beat up.
Yeah. The rest was history.
Exactly.
So then we go on to, I don't know why this one came up smaller.
Well, they are small.
Yeah. Atom weights. Mizuki Furuse taking on, what's her name?
Says
Yeji Lee. Topology doesn't even have this one in there. But this is actually a fight that is most intriguing to me because both fighters are absolutely hit or miss. I mean, Furuse.
They're both like glass cannons.
Yeah. I mean, not that they like get finished easily because they usually go to like decisions, but like Yeji Lee started out. She's another one, had like got thrown to the wolves right away, lost a couple fights to like way more experienced veterans, then started to pick up, but it's been like up or down. Furuse, I always think of her as like, oh, she fights more often than she trains because she's almost on almost every event.
Right.
She's only 22, but she has like 20 fights.
Well, was she on that Korean reality show that had Sexyama on it?
Physical 100, yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you look at her on social media now, it looks like she's been working out. She looks ripped, and that's not good for Furuse, who could be a microweight. She has fought at microweight several times. And you're right, though. For those that don't know, Furuse, when she was an amateur, was on this like Abima show where they were trying to discover the next big star. And it had her, and I think she fought Itsuki Hirata in the finals, and the winner got a contract for one championship. And we all know how that went, but Mizuki, everyone thought she was like cute or something on that show, so she got this like immediate popularity before she'd even made her pro debut. And she has this thing where she like beats weaker fighters than her like she should, but she's really struggled against the elite of the divisions.
Mm-hmm.
She's like never been able to clear those humps. Because when she fought Saudi Oshima just like big sistered her completely and absolutely destroyed her.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring up their records real quick.
I also laughed because do you remember she fought in Ryzen and got like absolutely destroyed by Kana Asakura. Then she announced she was going to take some time off because she'd been fighting so often she wanted to take time to train. But then she got pregnant almost immediately and then returned to the ring like 2 months after giving birth. So I was like, I don't know when you trained in between then, but
yeah, well, because also the microweight tournament got canceled because of COVID.
Yeah. Well,
and then Furuse got pregnant.
It was really weird. Yeah.
Or it got delayed, and then Furuse got pregnant. So then they just gave the belt to Amp the Rocket.
Yeah.
And
who then didn't fight with Mizuki Furuse fought like 6 more times before Amp the Rocket fought again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, let me see, going back to, she fought, let's see, Yeah, the biggest break in Firuze's career was because of the pregnancy. She went from
Yeah.
August of 2020 to September of 2021 without fighting, and that's been like her biggest break ever. She fought
Yeah.
3
She just
times
had,
last year. She's already fought twice this year.
well, her husband is also a deep fighter. So I think they just train and fight all the time, I guess. But she doesn't appear to be improving at any rate, unfortunately.
Yeah, like that's why I think she, stop taking so many fights and just train and
Yeah.
practice and improve. Now, Yeji Lee, she used to train exclusively she was kind of stuck at her gym because it was owned by like her cousin's husband. But now,
Okay.
following her social media, she's been training all over. She's trained at Team Mad with Sahi Ham. I think she trained at Stun Gun's gym a little bit. She's been kind
Okay.
of going all over, which I think she leveraged her slight increase in social media thanks to the TV show. Plus,
Yeah.
because she's been like doing a bunch of other events with the other cast members from Physical 100, she's been using that to like as an excuse to train everywhere.
Didn't you also point out? I think you showed me that she was training in Japan with like Tomo Maesawa a couple months
Yeah,
ago.
she visited Japan for a little bit.
Yeah.
So this will be an interesting one just because they're both totally inconsistent.
Yeah. But if Mizuki is inconsistent, I would also add I don't think her fights are rarely boring. She usually goes for it, so it's usually a good fight, win or lose.
Uh, Yeah, you don't see too many decisions. She's either
No,
winning by finish or getting
getting finished.
finished,
Exactly.
usually by
Exactly.
submission.
Yep.
Although she did get finished by Kana Sakura via TKO.
Well, that's just Mikana Sakura is completely big sister to her. But
Yeah,
I have noticed. I think Mizuki's been training with Aya Murakami, so maybe her jiu-jitsu will get a little better.
that'll help her a lot against Lee. So then we move back down to microweight. Momoko Yamazaki taking on Reina Kobayashi. Let's see. Both have upside down records. Yamazaki's 3-4. Kobayashi's 2-3. One thing I'll say about Reina Kobayashi on the right hand side there, she had a really good fight against Satoko Shinashi, who has like over almost 40 fights,
Mhm.
way out experienced her, and she put up a good fight against her. Like went to the decision, and which is rare for a Shinashi fight. And Shinashi
True.
like was never really running away with it.
But it should also be pointed out that I think what was Shinashi is like clearly in her 40s at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah. I mean, what can you say? Momoko Yamazaki is a popular fighter, kind of like Saki. She comes from the outsider, which is kind of like breaking down before breaking down, kind of like a organized street fights.
Yeah,
And I
wasn't it
think
like
she didn't she
wasn't it basically
famously like got in a fight with a guy at a convenience store, and the guy that like tried to harass a robber or something, and the guy got arrested, but she beat the guy up first. So, but she's got a lot of fans. Whenever I go to the events, there's a lot of people wearing her shirts. She's quite popular. But she's a brawler. She goes forward. She throws a lot of punches. Reina Kobayashi is also a girl. I think wasn't she kind of like an amateur for a long time, if I'm not
let me
mistaken?
see. Looks like it. Uh Topology only has her listed with one fight. She won a
I
split
must be
decision, but that's
must
not.
I must be
Yeah,
getting confused. But
I think
let's see
Momoko had like
someone.
a sizable amateur.
Yeah, so she's beat
Yeah, she was an
she's
amateur for a long time.
yeah. I mean, she's beat Chibisai, which is good, but she's lost to Mizuki Furuse. So I mean, she's like a hit or miss kind of fighter.
Yeah. Who's your pick on this one?
I'll probably go with probably Reina Kobayashi. If you're saying, I don't remember the Satoki Shinashi fight, but if she did well against her, maybe she'll be able to grapple with Momoko and beat her.
Yeah. I mean, she had her moments. Mostly it was I mean, she survived on the ground, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kobayashi, I think. Then we move all the way up to flyweight. That's a big difference in
Okay.
weight classes. Nori, formerly Nori Date, now on Team Pravajra, taking on, what is this girl's name? Momoko Saito.
Yeah.
So Momoko's making her pro debut. She's listed as having one amateur fight 10 months ago, defeated Machi Fukuda.
So, yeah, it may be just one amateur fight, but it's a big win at amateur.
Yeah, that's a big one. Nori is 5-6-1. She's coming off a loss to Takeo Hashi via decision 3 months ago in Pancrase, but that's another one. It's like
Hachi, who refuses to go away.
Yeah. She
emerges once every 2 years to maintain her belt at Pancrase.
She's one of those women. I've been wanting to make a video about like the old guard Japanese fighters that just refuse to retire.
Yeah.
And there's like several of them. There's Hashi,
Fujino,
Raika.
Yeah. Vivi May. Yeah. Hashi's interesting because you should do a thing on her because she runs like her own restaurant. She has her own tonkatsu shop.
Oh.
No, but this fight, so that Machi amateur win like completely changes everything. But I will say, I think that amateur fight, let me double check what weight that amateur fight was at. Because I think it might have been back when Machi was a little chubbo. Is it flyweight? So Machi's a strawweight now, and Machi's also like really, really short. And I remember that fight because Saito had like the clear reach advantage in striking. So I think since then Machi's kind of cut down a little bit, but still Saito looked good in that fight. Nori, for everyone knows, has that patented, very strange Team Pravjara fighting style. Very taekwondo-esque. A lot of hook kicks, spinning kicks. Hey, some people make fun of Team Date. When Nori lands those crazy kicks, I mean, she hurt Hashi with like a hook kick to the head that was awesome. So I'm a Nori fan. She's incredibly charismatic. They had last time she fought in Deep Jewels, there was actually a TV crew that were filming her because she was part of this TV show where athletes do their thing and then they go follow you the next day after your competition to see how much you eat. And I think she ate like 5,000 or 6,000 calories in Chinatown. So it's pretty
Holy crap.
Now
that's such a Japanese concept for a show though.
Right? Oh, it's good.
I mean,
but I think it was called Cheat Day. I think the show is called Cheat Day. But interesting tidbit is Nori and her sister Karen no longer train together. Nori still trains with her brother Darani, but Karen joined Palestra in Chiba, which is where Kana Asakura and
really?
Yeah, it's where Kana Asakura trains. It's where the girl at Pancrase, Honoka, I believe is her name, Honoka, who just fought, trains. And they have a good little women's team building, but it's also like the men. They have like Ogikubo. They have Rei Tsuraya. So it's a very, very good gym. Valentina Shevchenko trained there when she was in Japan. But
yeah,
I
actually said that was part of the reason why she lost.
Yeah. That's probably accurate, but no. But Saito is actually training at Team Palestra. So Karen was laughing that she's training with her sister's opponent for her next fight. So a little drama going into this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Plus the whole, I mean, are they really sisters or is that just?
I've gone back and forth on it a bunch, and I've now met their mother. And I am semi-convinced that Darani and Karen, I am 99% convinced Darani and Karen are related. I am now pretty convinced that Nori is also related to them.
It's always an interesting story with Pravajra and Team Date, which Team Date has basically disappeared almost.
They still kind of exist in Pancrase with like a Goku Date and Tiger Date, I believe, still are there. But yeah, a lot of the women a lot of the female fighters kind of switched over to pro wrestling.
They're very suited for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Although I was like watching Karen because she went out there and she would get the crap beat out of her, but she gave it her all.
Well, Karen's great. I interviewed her a couple
Not
weeks
Karen.
ago. Hana,
No, Hana, yeah, I think Hana date. Yeah, because she was like
but
one who fought most often.
mhm. Yeah, but doesn't Nodi date have like Nodi has like a random win over like a high level UFC fighter?
Let me see. Okay, Emika, Maria Suzuki. Oh, she fought Tabitha Ricci
Yeah,
in Seiza.
yeah. It was kind of like a moat fighting thing, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a weird team thing where it was like a 5 versus 5. Where you like picked people. It's kind of like a quintet thing, but no. But Nodi, I like the exciting kicks. She's got a lot of fans. It's very obvious why she's on this event, and she's very charismatic. So if she gets a couple wins together, I could see her maybe fighting for a title shot in the future. But that'd be against Brenda Kai, so that's terrifying for her.
Yeah.
And Saito is an exciting up and comer. Trains at a good gym, so it should be a great fight.
Yeah, I don't really have a pick for this one because the Machi win throws me off too much.
It does throw
Even
me off.
though even though it was amateur, and even though it was Machi fighting out of her weight class, it just throws me off enough. And Nori
Remember,
is
yeah,
another fighter who's very inconsistent.
yeah, but I'll enjoy it because you need like the weird fight on a
Mhm.
fight card to keep it interesting. And this fulfills the weird fight for me, so I'm all
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, like you got the lightweight fight, which is kind of like the freak show fight.
Yeah,
And then this is like a legit fight, but it's weird.
yeah. And
Anytime
I know
anytime you
Andrew
need
from We Are
weird,
Rising's excited because he always loves it when a fighter is making their pro debut against a fighter that has like 10 plus fights.
it's
Very,
this is
very
this is
JMA.
yeah, honestly, this is almost like a throwback.
Exactly.
So we move on to what is the straw weight now.
Hmm.
Excuse me, Hikaru Aono taking on Yuko Kiryu. This is kind of a must-win fight for both of these ladies. Now, Aono's coming in at 9-6. Yuko Kiryu's coming in at 12-10. Now, Aono's coming in off of a win over Kate Lotus, but she had 2 straight losses before that. Yuko Kiryu's coming in on 2 straight losses, uh, both by finish, and she's
Yeah.
36 years old. So,
Well, I'll start off by saying I think this might be Hikaru's first fight at strawweight, and she's not a very big girl. Like she's not very tall. She's got like that classic wrestler gymnast build where she's kind of like a
yeah,
squat short person.
she's 5 foot nothing,
Yeah,
152 centimeters. So yeah, and she is built like I knew dudes when I
yeah,
wrestled in high school that were shaped kind of like her,
yeah,
minus the boobs, in that they like had like the V-shaped body
yeah.
and then
She
like just wide hips and just like built like a tree trunk almost.
exactly. She reminds me of just like all my friends wrestling growing up. So
Hmm.
exactly. And
Which is what
she
she
was,
does.
yeah, I mean, she was a very good wrestler in college. She wrestled against Miyu Yamamoto. Uh, Obviously, Miyamoto's older, so it wasn't like in collegiate competition. But Hikaru is a very good wrestler. Her husband is Shuto Watanabe. They opened a gym recently and run that together. But she frequently trains with like Kana Watanabe and like Seika Izawa, those types of people. Her grappling is not just wrestling though. She does have a good submission game. She likes to go for like arm bars and things like that. Yuko Kiryu was kind of interesting because I think she went and competed at One Warrior Series for a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, she
So
has a win over I thought that was her, maybe not. She has a loss to Soyul Kim via decision, and Kim just got signed to the UFC.
oh, very nice.
Uh, but yeah, oh yeah, she has a win over Jion Saw,
Mhm.
and that was like Jion Saw's only loss in One Warrior Series. She went 2-1 overall in One
Yeah,
Warrior Series,
not
and then
bad.
returned to Deep Jewels and was on a winning streak.
But it was weird though because
Yeah,
I think she needs the win more than Hikaru because I think one of those wins was against Manhoof, who is in her mid 40s, if not
yeah, went to
50.
split
It was a
against,
split decision
and
against
then
a very old
one,
fighter
yeah, and then won a split decision against Emi Tomomatsu,
who's also,
an old fighter.
and I mean, how hard is Emi Tomimatsu trying these days? Let's just throw that out there. But
Yeah,
um, but yeah, so I mean, two split decisions against fighters you probably should have beat. Now the reason she keeps coming back is Yuko is popular. I know that Deep Jewels recently had like this T-shirt contest where they had some of the fighters design T-shirts to see who could sell the most, and the winner won like a year supply of like beef or rice or something. And I think Yuko Kiryu actually won the contest. But so she seems popular, and I think she's charismatic. But the question is, how do you deal with just the nonstop wrestling of Hikaru Aono? Because it's only 2 rounds, so she's not going to stop.
yeah,
And she's definitely one of those fighters who will shoot from like 20 feet away.
yeah.
She's not going to start punching with you. So
Well, Yuko does have a lot of wins by armbar, and Aono has a bad habit of getting caught in
yeah,
arm bars and
she's
chokes.
she's kind of got like that Yamamoto Miyu thing going on where she's really good at taking people down, but then sometimes gets herself in bad positions.
Hmm. She,
Now, I will also say that Hikaru did lose 2 fights recently, but the Saudi Oshima fight was incredibly competitive and
yeah,
was at the end of a tournament and was a great fight. And the other fight, I believe, was that who's her other loss to? You know, it's to someone else that's also really good. It's Siwoo Park. Ooh, let me double check. Um, it was to Moedi Suda. Yeah, I mean Moedi Suda just threw up like a million armbar attempts, and you
yeah,
can't let Moedi do that because she's gonna get one of them. Like if you just keep giving her the chance, she's eventually gonna get it. So that was a low fight IQ moment of hers. But I'm a Hikaru fan. I like Yuko too, and I know that Shuto wants her to get to Rising one day. So I think a win here would help her get on that road.
yeah. I know that's was like Aono's big thing. Like she's constantly with her now husband, like quartering him and
Yeah.
constantly like trying to get to Ryzen, and then she just like loses and
He
never gets
didn't
called up.
He wanted to retire like years ago, but kept going because he thought if he was in Rising, it like increased her chances of getting in.
Yeah, didn't he finally just retire though?
He did off a big
Yeah,
win too.
yeah. So you're going with Hikaru on this one?
I'm going with Hikaru because especially in a 2 round fight, I think that Yuko is gonna have because I mean Yuko, I will describe her as a grinder,
Mm,
and I think you're gonna have a hard time out grinding the wrestler in this one.
mm. Okay. I think I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
Yuko here. Although, let's see, looking at a lot of her submission wins, the opponents don't have the experience of Hikaru.
I don't see this fight ending in a finish, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you're probably gonna end up getting this one with Hikaru by
Well,
decision.
the big asterisk, though, is I mean, there will be a size advantage for Yuko. She
True.
might be able to outmuscle her, push her around.
Yeah, she's used to fighting at straw weight, so
Yeah. And she
all right.
also recently opened her own gym. All these fighters are opening their own gyms these days. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I guess they just want to. I think a lot of them are just trying to like find ways to stay involved in fighting after
Mhm.
they're done, and then they got to
Sure.
diversify their income. So
Well, I think the Ano one makes sense because Shuto was working as a personal trainer before they opened their own
mhm.
gym. And so he's just doing what he was doing. He's just his own boss now.
Yeah,
So,
that
I mean,
makes
that
sense.
makes more sense to me.
All right. So moving on, we have 49 kilogram or 108 pound bout. Moeri Suda taking on Kate Lotus Oyama. I like this fight. Both,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, Suda has the experience advantage here, but not by a whole lot. Although she definitely has like the background in fighting. Kate Lotus came just like kind of started fighting out of nowhere.
Right.
And her record reflects that. She's 4-5. Suda's 8-5. But I mean, both have like mixed in wins and losses throughout their career. Now, Suda's only 19, whereas Lotus is 25, and Lotus is going to be 3 inches taller. But kind of have to go with Suda here.
Oh, absolutely. The only X factor in this fight is that Kate Lotus, former bodybuilder, is very physically strong, and I would say that Moetti Suda is like still growing into her body, and she still kind of has like a teenage. She's like not as muscular as say like a Saudi Oshima or a Mikima Tono.
Yeah, she still has like some baby fat on her.
Exactly. But that one factor aside, Moetti Suda has improved drastically after each one of her fights, which shows me that she's training a lot. Because look at her social media, she's training with her father's gym, but she also trains with Aoi Kuriyama, and she trains with Arisa Matsuda, who's a very good fighter at strawweight. And Moetti's father has his own. He was an MMA fighter, but more known for jiu-jitsu, which makes sense because Moetti Suda is an aggressive submission machine that will go for insanely long submission chains until she gets one. And I think Kate Lotus is in a lot of trouble. I think because Moetti Suda has shown she will pull guard, she will trip you, she will jump on your back, she will do whatever it takes to get you to the ground. And what is even scarier to me is that she's also shown to have a very good fight IQ. Maybe not fight IQ. I said she has very good game plans going into her fights.
Yeah.
And I think that's
I'd say
probably has to do with her father having an MMA background himself, because in her second fight with Aya Murakami, who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, she kind of fought that fight perfectly. She did what she had to do to win. So she's a very intelligent game plan going into her fights. Her last fight, she got knocked out, but I thought she was winning before that, and she kind of got caught countered throwing a lazy knee.
Yeah.
Which that's going to happen to anybody. But her striking looks to be getting better. Her grappling is very good. It's very offensive. So it's not the best defensive, but it's very good offensive. It's not like Kate Lotus is some submission machine, so I don't think she has to worry about anything on the ground. All she has to worry about is Kate Lotus trying to smother her against the cage and kind of grind out a win. But even in that situation, I see her just pulling guard or doing something to get it to the ground.
Yeah, definitely agree on Suda getting better every fight. I mean, her last fight, yeah, she got knocked out. She got countered. Her opponent has almost 20 fights.
I mean, Park's a legit fighter. So
yeah. And I mean, that's just shows that experience factor. I mean, getting countered like that. And it was just perfectly timed. Kate Lotus, she started out at flyweight, and then I remember you saying she got sick, and then lost a bunch of weight, went down to straw weight, and then has just got herself all the way down to 49 kilos.
Well, I mean, it's very obvious what this means. 49 kilo just has like the giant asterisk of being, this is the one women's division that Rising has.
Right, the super
you see
atom
all
weight.
these fighters just like cutting down, doing whatever it takes to get down to 49 kilo.
Yeah, you got atom weights and even microweights moving up to 49 kilos, and then you got straw weights and even some flyweights trying to get down to it.
Yep, Hime is one. Miki Matono dropped down. Seiki Izawa dropped down. No, but if Kate Lotus, now all credit to Kate Lotus, she's training very hard. She trains with Seika Izawa, and she's actually an instructor at Seika Izawa, who also opened her own gym recently. She is an instructor at Seika Izawa's gym. She's training very hard. I just don't see the improvement jumps like I do with Suda.
Yeah.
That being said, she is quite strong. I mean, maybe she can hurt Sudo with punches, but if she can string a couple wins together, she is absolutely the type of fighter that Rising is interested in.
Oh, I mean, definitely. I mean, you look at her topology picture, it's her in a car, like a selfie with a bikini
Yeah,
top and like jeweled earrings.
yeah.
Uh,
She's very popular. She's a very good face for the promotion. Fans like her.
mhm. So like either win for either one is definitely going to boost the
Yeah. Plus, I mean,
signal.
Moedi's fought in Rising before.
Hmm.
I'd like to see her back.
So yeah, Moeri fought in Ryzen before. So if Kate Lotus gets a win, that's a win over a Ryzen veteran, which gets Ryzen's attention.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
Ryzen's not afraid of bringing in fighters with upside down records either. So,
I bet Sakakibara will be at this event.
oh, definitely. I'd be surprised if he wasn't.
Mhm.
So we move on to the co-main event, which might be the fight I'm most looking forward to, even more
Mhm.
than the title fight. Shiyu Park taking on Hime Namiko Kawabata. And
I
Hime
used to
used to fight at straw weight, of course, moved down to 49 kilograms because of the rise in factor. Shiyu Park, she hasn't fought since New Year's Eve when she lost a split decision to Seika Izawa. Before that,
crazy
she was
fight.
on a nice win streak, too. Hime coming in off of a loss to Machi Fukuda. That was a bit of an upset there, I'd
It's
say.
kind of a crazy fight because I think Machi kind of did like one of those no glove touch and straight into a takedown, but it didn't like the fight didn't end immediately after that. So I don't think it played that much of a factor in it. But I've wanted this fight ever since Hime kind of emerged. I think when Hime beat Saudi Oshima, I wanted this fight because I believe they're both southpaws. They're both big strikers. Now I think Siwoo Park is faster fighter. Siwoo Park throws combinations, but Hime I think hits significantly harder. I mean, her fight with Yuko Kiryu, I mean, she like shut the lights out. She beat Yuko Kiryu up pretty good,
Yeah.
and she dropped Oshima several times.
Hmm.
I've said it many times. Siwoo Park to me has always been kind of like a TKO fighter,
Yeah.
but
She's an attrition fighter more than
exactly.
Hime's like
And
straight up, she'll knock you out.
not to be critical, but ever since Siwoo Park lost to a couple grapplers, she's become very, very grappling adverse, almost to the point of like stalling,
Hmm.
like almost early on in fights, refusing to engage unless it's like completely on her terms. Like you'll see that in some of her rising fights where she's like very much on the outside looking to counter, especially like the Seika Izawa fight. I mean, she didn't start fighting really, in my opinion, until like the third round.
Yeah, I
But
can agree.
this fight, I don't think she has to work. Hime, no martial arts background, used to be a semi-professional basketball player. So I don't think Steve Park has to worry about the submissions. So I'm just hoping that they engage because I think they're both kind of counter strikers. But I'm hoping that one of them takes the lead on this one.
Yeah, I hope so too. 'Cause, yeah, she was definitely getting all of her best work in against Oshima on the counters.
Hmm.
I think
But I
Kiryu,
want
she
to put an
knocked her out with
asterisk
a
by that
counter.
fight. I'm gonna put an asterisk by that fight and say that I believe Oshima had corona like a week or two before that fight,
Wow.
and I think she was feeling a bunch of pressure because she was coming off of the Kana Asakura win. She fought that fight very stupidly and just like essentially ran at Hime the
Yeah.
entire time. So it's kind of perfect for Hime, but not to take anything away from Hime, but she was fighting like a very strange Yoshima in that fight.
Yeah, she didn't like throw her usual kicks to set up the takedowns or anything
Yeah,
in that fight.
right,
Just kind of like bum rushing her
exactly.
and like diving for the legs if she had to.
Because I think afterwards Hime fought Miki Matono, who's like essentially a copy of Sao Yoshima at points, and it was a very different fight. So,
After the Oshima fight, that was the Yuko fight. She lost to
oh, did she fight
Matono
Miki Matono
before Oshima.
before?
Yeah.
there we go. Okay, okay.
Yeah, that was right before the Oshima fight.
There we go. I'm the order mixed up in my head.
Yeah.
No, but
So
I see Siwoo Park winning this fight via decision. But if there is a finish, I think Hime would be the one that gets the finish.
yeah, I'd have to go with that. I agree. Uh, I mean, Park should be the favorite. You look on Tapology, out of 47 predictors, she's 91%. Almost all of them picked via decision.
I'm going to say this might be an unpopular opinion. I think Siwoo Park's striking is overrated because the Japanese MMA scene with the women has so few women that come from a striking background.
Mhm.
Because I believe she lost to Panchan Reina in kickboxing,
Yeah, she
and
did.
I don't think Panchan Reina is like an especially talented kickboxer.
It's mostly just jabs and stays on the outside.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like Simu Park is coming from this illustrious kickboxing background.
Right.
Her number one feature is she's incredibly athletic,
Yeah.
very athletically built,
The
very good movement.
the ultimate cheat code in women's MMA is being a natural athlete.
Exactly, exactly. But
That's worldwide.
she is. People like the Thai comparisons with her to Ham Sohee because they train together. I believe her nickname used to be like Little Ham Sohee. So make it clear she is not Ham Sohee.
No. I would say she actually throws a bigger variety than Ham does because
Well, Ham
Ham's
just spams her overhand left,
mhm. She's gotten
but
predictable.
Ham Sohee's also a much better grappler
Yeah.
defensively.
Yeah. Park, yeah, I'd say Park has gotten away
Park
with
throws
being the big.
kicks.
Yeah.
Park, don't forget, Park broke Aya Hamasaki's arm with a kick. That's
Mm.
why Hamasaki's return has been low. And I swear, Simu Park is like so gun shy about getting finished by a grappler. I think she could have finished Kana Asakura like in the second round of their fight,
Mhm.
but she's just ever since she knocked Oshima down and then jumped into an armbar, she just made it. I think she made a promise to herself never to let that happen again.
Yeah. But her sprawl and brawl has gotten good. So,
Yeah,
because of that.
but I don't think she's have to worry about takedowns in this fight.
No, not against Hime. So we move on to the main event, microweight championship. Suwanan Boonsoorn, aka Amp the Rocket, taking on Aya Murakami. Amp coming in at 5-4. Murakami coming in at 6-1. These two were both in the microweight Grand Prix that got ended early. Let's see. Amp
No, they
coming in off.
weren't. No, they weren't.
No,
Um,
Murakami wasn't.
Murakami was originally in the Atomweight Grand Prix, but had to pull out.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, she got COVID or something.
But they're both clearly microweights. This is kind of interesting because Murakami is like the more traditional Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, where Amp the Rocket is like this. You said athleticism is the cheat code. She's very athletic,
And strong.
very explosive submission
Mhm.
attempts that come out of nowhere. She's not as technical with them as Murakami, but she makes up with that for just like the speed in which she locks them on.
Yeah. And she
And
actually comes from a Muay Thai background, but she's known in MMA for her arm bars.
right, didn't she? I think she tapped out Loma Lokbami,
Mhm.
and
She's actually on the Thai national BJJ team, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
it's her and two other people. It's
I
not the
mean, I
time.
think you just go to your first BJJ class and they sign you up for the national team probably,
Exactly,
but
exactly.
it's
It's like
Thailand.
when wasn't like Ham Sohee on like the national like kung fu team. Oh, I think Ham Sohee was on the national Korean national Muay Thai team. It was just
Wow.
like, yeah, you do taekwondo, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
No, but Amp the Rocket. The problem with this fight for Murakami is if Amp the Rocket's smart, which I think she is, she's just going to turn this into a striking battle and use her grappling skills to not go to the ground. And if that happens, I think Murakami's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility, but I think Amp just loves grappling so much.
No, she does grapple. That's what everybody wants
Yeah.
to see. If they do grapple, it will be fun because Murakami is like a assassin down there. But Amp the Rocket's like that giant X factor of gamble. What is a she dares to do crazy things, and that's bitter in the ass in the past, but it's also paid off for her.
I mean, she fought Seika Izawa, who she
That's
had no
crazy to
business
me.
fighting.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, if you can make microweight, you honestly have no business fighting Izawa, who started as a straw weight.
Yeah.
I look at this, at least on the ground battle, as unstoppable brute force versus the technician.
Right.
It's hard to imagine Murakami not getting a submission on the ground.
Right. Well, Murakami seems to be. She looks more muscular recently. I think she's taking her training very seriously.
Doesn't she work at that Muscle Girls bar? I saw you and Andrew with
She
pictures.
does. She's not like a regular staff member there, but she works there from time to time. And she smacked the shit out of Andrew. It's pretty funny.
For those wondering, it's literally a bar where all the girls there are like yoked.
Yeah, they have I believe they have Rena and Renakai's autographs framed on the wall, so popular with the ladies too. But
definitely something you only see in Japan.
Exactly. But Murakami is very good on the ground, and she's shown that she'll kind of like Moetti Suda do whatever it takes to get to the ground. She'll pull guard, she'll Imanari roll, she'll jump on your back. Just as long as it gets to the ground. She doesn't care if she's in the bad position. She just wants to get to the ground. And if Amp the Rocket goes to the ground, this is going to be a very exciting fight because it's kind of a coin toss. It's got that get that Amp the Rocket wild card just spamming crazy Hail Mary options where you have the cold, calculated Murakami on the other side.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing, she went to decision against Nisei Mizuki Yoshiro recently. Murakami did. That was back in December. Which is
well, I think people are starting to like figure out with Murakami, you just need to like avoid the grappling.
Yeah.
Because she is, I think that fight was probably at atom weight, right?
I think so.
Nisei used to be able to make microweight, but I believe she's been fighting recently at atom weight because she wants to go back to rising because they always put her, not always, but they tend to put her on the Okinawa cards.
Right.
But let me double check before I make some crazy mistake. Yeah, that fight was at atom weight. Just regular atom weight, not super atom weight. But still though, that's a giant jump. If you can make microweight, which is like 98 pounds, something 97
97, yeah.
When you're talking about like 10% of your body weight, like jump more than 10% of your body weight going up to the next weight division. So it's a pretty big jump for them. But Nisei is a very strong fighter, so I think she just kind of avoided the ground. It's kind of like what's like peak GSP. I'm not saying Murakami is GSP, but when you're fighting someone who's just on the defense, it's kind of hard to finish them.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Ann Still for this one. I'm going to go with Amp because, like you said, she should be smart enough to stay off the ground and certainly has the athleticism to stay off the ground against Murakami, whose takedowns aren't the best. And like you said, she has to resort to, she'll do whatever it takes to get to the ground, much like Oshima.
Yeah.
That's a fight I want to see too.
Like my mind is saying that Amp, but for some reason I'm going to pull from Murakami on this one.
Okay.
She slapped Andrew, so she's endeared herself to me.
Yeah, that's a funny story.
And Aunt the Rocket's been on social media. Looks like she has like a pet raccoon or something.
I think she does, yeah. Well, I think she lives, like, out there in the country, kinda.
Yeah.
She has,
I
like,
think
I think she has, like, a really nice car, like a Mustang or something too.
living the dream.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Which,
I
I
just
mean
laughed because like half her social media stuff's just about her raccoon.
yeah. Which, I mean, that's the kinda thing that won championship, they brag about Rod Time being able to buy a Mustang. It's
Yeah.
like
I
that's
still
like
think my favorite one championship moment is when Chatri said they don't steroid test because they don't pay the fighters enough to buy steroids.
yeah, even though Thailand is literally the home of steroids. Like, walk into a pharmacy and you get Winstrol.
Kind of like a lot of the fighters coming from Brazil, so to speak.
Mhm. Oh, they're all
I mean,
natty, Charlie.
how many
It's the
times did
acai.
Karina Dam fail drug tests? So many times. Caught again.
More than Josh Barnett, I think. And that's saying something.
Hey, that's
So
because the UFC wanted him to have a better body.
yeah. So that's it for Deep Jewels 10th anniversary show. Yeah, for me, the only thing that's missing is a couple of the older fighters, which granted, they're either fighting elsewhere now or retired or just inactive. The only one I could really think of that's still with Deep Jewels is Tomomatsu, but she's been inactive since last year.
What I would have liked to have seen, I did like, first off, random side note, I did like how they kind of did the Mizuki Furuse versus Mr. X thing to kind of like hype up that fight a
Mhm.
little bit. But I would have liked to seen, say, before you go to the main event.
Or
So
no,
before,
that was Lee versus Mr. X, and then they announced
oh,
it as
what's
Furuse because she won
okay, that's right.
the
You're
last
right.
fight. Yeah.
You're right. Before the main event, before the intermission, I would have liked to have seen a grappling match with Mika Nagano, Emi Tamimatsu, Saudio Ishioka,
Mhm.
and maybe like a Ayaka Hamasaki, and just like pay tribute to four of the fighters that really helped build the Jewels and Deep Jewels brand,
Yeah.
what it is today.
Who is the one she was, like, always she was, like, the pretty girl fighter for a time. Was that Mika Nagano?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
She fought
Future
for,
princess or something?
that's exactly, yeah. And she fought for Jewels more than any other fighter before it was Deep Jewels. And she still fights for Deep Jewels and she's grinding it out. And she was kind of teased internationally because people were like, she's only on there for her pretty looks. But I always respected her a lot because she went out there every single time. She went for the win. She beat some good people. She lost sometimes, but you can't deny the fact that she went out there and did her best to build a promotion that's still around
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. I think they should do her versus, Kate Lotus, like the
She already
last
beat her.
generation.
She beat Kate Lotus.
Oh, that's
I was at that fight. That was amazing. It was like
you know
Mika
what? I
Nagano
remember
only ever
that's
gets
right.
armbar wins. She
That's
choked.
right, because
She got her with a front choke.
that's right, because I remember talking about that now, because I was like, "Yeah, this is the old generation pretty girl fighter taking on the new
Yeah,
generation pretty girl."
I
I
cannot
mean
believe because I mean Mika Nagano was a legitimate high caliber wrestler in college, and for those that don't know, more than half of the Olympic gold medals in women's wrestling are like won by Japan. Like they have an
yeah.
insanely dominant women's wrestling program. So Mika Nagano was a very good wrestler. And when Kate Lotus started grappling with her, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like Mika Nagano is only known for her grappling. Why are you engaging her here? And I proved
Yeah.
to be correct.
Yeah, nice tag grappling match would be fun.
Well, I just
Um,
because I
if
know
they
like
had, like, a retirement ceremony for someone, that would be cool.
well not I know that like Saudi Ishioka is like training now. She's probably never gonna fight again. But you can get they still train, so you can get them down there for a fun grappling match where no one has to worry about getting injured or anything.
Mhm.
And I think it'd be a nice thing for the fans to see because those girls, I mean, Emi Tomimatsu has fought in Deep Jewels more than anyone else,
Yeah.
and it's just like a crazy number of times. I think she fought for like 16 times.
Yeah. I think she's chasing a final win before she retires.
Well, I don't know where because Emi Tomimatsu is all over the place because I believe she trains at Palestra, which has like strong connections with Pancrase. And so you see her at a lot of Pancrase events, like working the front booth and stuff. I just miss the old Jules days where her sister would play the electric guitar in the ring during her entrance.
Oh,
Because her sister is like a semi-popular rock star.
yeah, I know that. I never knew she played at the thing. I mean,
Oh
those were
yeah,
like back when you couldn't find JMMA on YouTube and
oh yeah. Back in the day, her sister would go up in the middle of the ring and just like play her out. It was awesome.
nice.
But yeah, just some type of legacy match like that because I know you're not going to get Megumi Fuji because she's doing her thing with Shuto,
Hmm.
and some of the other fighters are still like competing actively.
Hmm.
But because like Fujino is in Shuto now,
Yeah. Well, I
but
just
you
heard
could.
Tomo Sawa, I think, in the last event did a grappling bout. Or no, that was Shudo Colors, wasn't it?
That's true, but you could still get her for
Yeah.
an event. But I would, especially Emi Toyomatsu and Mika Nagano, I think should have been involved. Ayaka Hamasaki too was like the one that went abroad and kind of showed legitimacy of the promotion.
Yeah. But
I think
wasn't
she
that
would.
Jules before it was Deep Jules? Or did
That is
she?
true. That is a giant misnomer. Is I think Aya Kamasaki's only fought in Deep Jewels one time.
Mm. Actually,
So,
wasn't
but
because I know like a lot of the fighters going overseas and fighting in like Invicta and
mhm.
stuff like that was kind of like blamed on for the demise of Jules, if I remember right,
That
because they couldn't have like a lot of their stars fighting available.
that's not true. They had their own problems,
Yeah.
and
Well, they're going to blame it on something. So
if anything, fighters going abroad and doing well brought more recognition to the promotion in Japan,
hmm.
and so it probably helped them more than anything. I mean, there's a reason that Mizuki Inoue was the strawweight champion until last year.
And Jiyeon Kim, I think, was the bantamweight champion for a long time, or still is.
Yeah, I think she might have given it up the same time Mizuki did, or she might still be the champion.
I think she might still be because isn't what's her face the featherweight champion?
Amanda Lucas.
No,
Oh,
no.
Amanda Lucas was like the open weight champion or whatever.
Yeah. Um, the construction worker,
The featherweight champion is Yoko. Wait,
Yoko
Yoko
Higashi.
Higashi. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it for Deep Jules 42. Now I do have one more fight I want to talk about because this comes up not this weekend, but next weekend.
You know, the Saudi Oshima fight.
Saori
Yeah.
Oshima taking on uh what is this girl's name? Park Shiyun.
That's Park
Shiyun Park.
Shin. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, this is a easy fight for Oshima.
Don't jinx it. I'm a giant Oshima stan, and I need her to win this fight.
Oh yeah, me too. And this is for the black combat belt. So
It was kind of obvious because I made the big announcement, and they said that five because last time Black Combat beat Deep, I believe they beat them 3-2. I think Oshima and Judy Ohara were the only Deep fighters to win their
yeah.
fights in
And
Korea.
now Deep's coming with some of the big guns this time.
Well, they're bringing their five champions,
Yeah.
and Black Combat said like, well, two of these are going to be Black Combat title fights, and I was like, well, only two of these fighters have won in Black Combat before, so I
Hmm.
bet it's going to be them. And Saudi Ashima has made it clear. I don't think she's long for the sport, but while she's here, she wants to do great things.
Hmm.
And I think she's talked about winning a Black Combat title. She's talked about potentially going to Invicta, something like that, fighting in the United States. So, because remember, she has two young children. So
Right.
I think she knows she's eventually probably going to have to become a full time mother. So I think while she's active, she's going to try to make the most of it that she can.
Yeah.
She
Well, I
trains
remember.
incredibly hard. She's a very exciting fighter. I think she and Izawa are the brightest prospects Deep Jewels has produced in the past 10 years.
Definitely, because like some of the other fighters are either the prospects. Park, I would say, well, yeah, Park mostly made her name in Deep Jewels, but she hasn't done anything quite yet.
Even then, I'm not going to be. I still think Park's somewhat overhyped because she's a striker. There's just so few of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oshima is so small. I mean, she's a natural microweight, and she's accomplished so much fighting above me. She beat Salt and Rising Hokkaido, and I think Salt outweighed her by like 20 or 25 pounds, and that had like a foot reach advantage.
Yeah,
It was insane stats going into that.
that was a great fight. That was fun to watch.
Flawless victory.
Yeah, but let me pull up this event here real quick. Get their records.
Tell you what, I'm loving Black Combat. They are an hilarious promotion out of Korea.
Yeah, so for the audience, it's run by a guy who started out as a YouTuber. His name's Godfather Black, and his approach to the fight game isn't like a typical MMA promotion. He runs it like a social media thing, and it gets like their videos get millions of views. And they'll do live events, and to watch it, you have to go to like a movie theater and watch it on closed circuit, almost like the old school boxing fights back in the 70s. And everything is like does so much build up. Like every event will have like 15 video promos building it up, talking about each fighter. It's just very unique. And then they release like the fight videos like later on. Now
it's very obvious that the guy Godfather Black is like heavily influenced by the UFC those fight week videos. What are those called? The Embedded series and the Rising Confession series. And he's been thinking, because MMA has often struggled in South Korea, it's just kind of like, what if I go from a different approach? What if I kind of make this a reality show where everyone gets to know all of these fighters, and they they have people that they know why they're fighting, they know all their motivations. I mean, I was told the Black Combat event in South Korea lasted 6 hours and only had 5 fights.
Wow.
But I mean, you had Godfather Black sitting cage side in a throne with Saeki-san.
Yeah, and they have their own arena. They have their own arena that the guy bought, and then they'll do like tryouts in like an abandoned warehouse.
Well, I think for this event, they had the tryouts on some like abandoned island, and they were treating it like they said like the invasion of Japan.
Yeah, so that okay, so that island is Shilmido. That island was used to train a crack group of prisoners who got trained, and they were supposed to go to North Korea and try to kill the dear leader back then in like the 80s or 90s. And then they got abandoned by the government, and they got all like massacred. And they literally there's a movie about it called Shilmido. It's like famous because like they were like
the South Korean version of Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, I mean something like that, because they all got promised like, hey, you do this, and we'll commute your sentences or whatever. It's kind of like the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
And so that like island had like real significance. And then Shi Park, they don't list a fight on Tapology, but I think she had to beat somebody to get the title. I haven't watched it, but she's officially 3-3.
I know she has the belt on the poster. Is she actually the champion?
I believe so. Like she just beat a girl in a tryout, and they gave her the belt. Okay. There's like 2 videos leading up to that. Now, the last girl that Oshima fought in Black Combat, which was when she went to Korea, that girl won like a tryout of 4 fighters.
That girl also retired like immediately afterwards, right?
Yeah, she has. I guess she has like
family issue.
Yeah, someone's like really sick in her family.
Let me see. I'm going to the Black Combat website. Oh, she is the champion on the website. And I don't read Korean. So I can't. They have her last win. They're saying she beat some girl named Kim Na-hee.
Okay. She actually fought in one championship once.
I am very impressed that you know that name.
Nahi or Namhi?
Nam-hee?
Namhi, yeah. She fought Ritu Phogat. Both made their pro debuts in one championship, and she lost to Ritu and got TKO'd in the first round.
Okay, so this girl's name is Nam-hee Kim.
Yeah.
Oh, she lost to Ritu. You're right. She lost to Ritu Phogat. Okay. Yeah.
I have no idea what kind of background she had before that, though, because
That was her. That was her pro debut.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, so they're bringing in this girl with like probably no real background.
She had one. Looks like she had one win in Road FC as an amateur before that.
I was like, oh, one championship is learning from Japan. Get a Korean with like 5 weeks of training.
Well, I mean, one championship used to do the whole find an Indian girl and just watch her get murdered. They used to like bring in Indian girls and girls from like Saudi Arabia, no, Egypt. Girls from Egypt just get like absolutely smashed.
They did it with the guys too. Egypt top team was like the designated can gym for one championship in the early days.
Yep, I remember her well. Wasn't there a girl in one championship who was nicknamed the armbar collector who never won by armbar?
Anita Kareem. She's from Pakistan.
I knew
she has a fight coming up.
I knew you knew her name.
Yeah. She has a fight coming up, if I remember right, this weekend, I think, but I can't see where. But
it's a Legends Fighting Championship.
No,
but I was just laughing because it reminded me of when I went to the Invicta FC show in Iowa. And I believe Barb Hochank had a shirt that said, "Every time I choke someone, a unicorn farts a rainbow." Then I looked at her record and realized she had never choked anybody.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the arm collector with 0 arm bars or any win by submission. It's better than Pitbull.
That's true. That's 100% true. To me, there's only one Pitbull, and it's Andrei Arlovsky.
Him or the Pitbull brothers? They've earned it too.
No, they haven't earned it. They've annoyed me to no end with their nickname. Trying to differentiate the two of them has driven me almost insane.
It's Patricio and Patricia, and they both fight in the same weight classes sometimes. So,
and they both fight in Ryzen on the same events. And yeah, it's just
that's Bellator for you.
Yeah, 500 million.
All right. So thank you, Charlie. You can catch Charlie's blog at sogo-kaku.com. He also does a semi-regular podcast with Shu Hirata. Shu is a MMA manager, and they talk JMMA. It's a very good show. Go check that out. I'll link them both in the description. We've gone well over an hour.
Yeah, also just saying closing, I got an interview with Karen coming up soon. But if you're interested in the Deep Jewels show we talked about, it is, you just, I think, become like a YouTube member for Deep, and you can watch it live or later on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, $15 a month, and you get all of their numbered events live. And then they've gotten really fast with uploading the fights afterwards, too.
Perfect. I know they have some exclusive YouTube content, too, but I don't think it's that significant yet.
Nah, nothing quite significant. Although I think one of the previews for this event is like members only.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. All right. So until next time, thank you, Charlie, for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
Stay tuned to WMMA Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.